Welcome to Well Fucked Wife, the podcast. I am Dr. Chelsea Page, licensed sex and relationship therapist, international sex mentor, and expert, helping you become healthy, wealthy, well loved, and well fucked. Ladies, I want to talk about taking action in your life, and so you can be the well fucked wife. Oh, I like that. Takes action in your life to be well fucked wife. All right, we got a new jingle now, ladies. Hashtag, sorry, not sorry. So taking action is so freaking essential. Like, yes, there's a whole other side of things of like masculine, feminine dynamics. We want to be in our feminine, open, receive, embody, open the space, trust, yada, 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 which we'll talk about in future stuff, I'm sure. But today I want to talk about action because so many of us are not taking action where we need to and can in our life to have and be the well fucked wife. So there are places where, so just identify this for yourself. Is it, I know what action to take, but I'm just not taking it? So this is where you're going to be working on fear work, resistance work, etc., because you already know what to do, but the feminine you isn't trusting in that movement, isn't trusting in taking that action because there's fear, and then we go in resistance and shut ourselves off and down and maybe do something over here and distract ourselves. So do you have that where you know what to do, whether it's, it could be anything. So I'll let you fill in the blanks on that. So you know what to do, but you're just not taking the action. Or you might be, I have no freaking idea what to do, no matter how much I've searched inside of myself. I've like read the books. I've maybe worked with other, coaches or therapists. I feel like I've tried freaking everything. And yet you still don't have the marriage that you want, where you're like taken and devoured and just being so deliciously in that pocket of pleasure with each other. And if that's the case, then it's all right. I need to perhaps hire somebody to help me know exactly what action to take. Because if we feel like we've done all the actions and we legit do not know what to do, and that's different than the first part, which is you know what to do, you're just not doing it, which also support on that is also helpful. But then there's action of I legit do not know what to do. I want to do the thing, but I just don't know what it is. So it's like your feminine really is trusting in all of this. It's like, yes, like I'm ready to receive, I am here. But not necessarily we're not taking the action. It's we don't know what action to take, but we would be taking it if we knew it. So those are like two big buckets to really look at. And sometimes we're like distracting ourselves in la la land. I used to do this, like my head up in the clouds and just not, it's like I was taking action, but I was not taking the right action. So I was like bamboozling myself. And so it's like we feel like we're doing the thing, but we're not doing the thing. And we're convinced we're doing the thing. So it's very different than the second one I showed you or told you, which is the you would legit do not know what to do and you're trying to find that answer. This third piece is you think you found the answer and you're doing the thing and you're like, woo, it should work. And it is working, but it's actually not working, but you're like blinding yourself to the fact that it's working. And sometimes we're being told inside of ourselves what to do. We're just not freaking listening. So, for example, to kind of tie this into the sexual side of you, your sexual self is for, say, a lot of us women, we're going to have like our sexual self might not be as forthcoming in her desire to take action and going like, ooh, I want that. And then action happens and you open and you receive all the juicy things. So for some of us, we might have more of like, we get that surge. This is kind of what I call, and it's, part of the vernacular is spontaneous desire is like, we're like, ugh, like we're like, it just kind of takes us over. It's almost like feels analogy, but not exactly the same. But it's like, say all of a sudden you're really hungry. It's like, ooh, I'm really hungry. And you want to take immediate action because you're really hungry. Kind of is like that, say with spontaneous desire. It feels like it just like takes you over and it's like, whoa, like your sexual self is like, let's do this, I'm ready, which can be really fucking frustrating if you want to have all the sex and your husband and is not. And that's where all the frustration can come in. So that's a whole other conversation and why we are here in the first place. So, for many of us, we might have more of a softer, subtler sexual side to ourselves. It's instead of the, I almost want to say it's like the different, it's not exactly one for one, but like an extrovert versus introvert. It's like an extrovert at a party is going to be like, woohoo, like, hey, like ready to talking, like energy is it's very noticeable energy, right? And so this is, if we think of our sexual self, if our sexual self is more extroverted and giving us this really clear signal that we're wanting to have sex, have all the pleasure, or self pleasure, whatever it might be. It's pretty obvious. It's like the extrovert who is like, they walk in the room and you know that they're there and they're already talking to everybody and they're saying like, hey, hey Jessica, hey Sarah, like, hey girl, like that kind of vibe. But for some of us, our sexual self might be more, say, introverted, and that those conversations might be a little bit more gentle, subtle. I'm like, there's a part of me that is definitely more introvert in the way of like socializing with people. I feel like my sexual self is more extroverted. So you might be introverted in like an actual party, but you might be extroverted in the way of your sexual self. So if you say your sexual self is more quote unquote introverted, this might be more of like the responsive desire, which is, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole here because there's so much that could be explained around this. And this is where we can often get frustrated, say, if we're more of the higher desire partner and we feel like we have more of that spontaneous desire and more of that readiness, and it feels maybe easier for us. And it's like, ugh, you feel like you're dragging your husband to it and like begging for it, craving it. And it's like, hello. They might have more of the responsive desire. And this can be hard for a lot of men because we're shown in like society and all these movies and blah 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 that like men should want sex all the time, and if they don't, then there's something wrong with them. And then that's not true, because some men are going to have more spontaneous desire, some men are going to have responsive desire, some women are going to have responsive desire, some women are going to have spontaneous desire. And with all the genders in between, see, it's just like you are human. And how does your sexual self like to come out and play? So we want to be careful not to put labels and like, oh, men do this and women do this. The blog that I posted above, that was the responsive desire, the desire type for most women. I've been wanting to even change that because I wrote that years ago, that I feel like it's a desire type for many women, but not necessarily most women. Which is very evidenced by a lot of you in here where we're like, that's not me. Like my sexual self is ready to go, like maybe on a dime. So what the heck? So just know, like, just you get to decide what is yours. So let me wrap. Circling back to the taking action is, for some of us, like if we have more of the spontaneous, it's easier to take action. We're like, all right, let's go in the bedroom. It's like, all right, let me go initiate to my husband. Okay, I'm gonna, I don't know, grab my vibrator and go do self-pleasure with myself. It like poop, it like pops in. And it might seem like out of nowhere. Responsive desire is we have to be more intentional about it, and it's like more of our introverted side. And a big piece I wanted to emphasize here is sometimes our sexual self is going to be more of a gentle whisper or more of the kind of quiet one in the conversation. So say if you're like in a circle of friends and there's one that's more of the got no big stories and more of the extrovert, and I want to be very clear, no one's right or wrong, or there's not one that's better or worse. So we want to de-shame how our sexual self likes to come out and play. And everything's great. There's no wrong answer. There's no right answer. It is and is. It's what is your true naked self, your true naked sexual self, your true naked desire, and how that comes out to play. So sometimes we might have more of the, okay, in the circle of friends, and there's, more of the kind of extroverted type person, and then there's the introvert type person that's maybe going to observe the conversation, maybe only I don't know, what's the word, oh my gosh, it's slipping my mind. Partake, that's not the word I want to say, but partake in the conversation might only happen if somebody like asks them a direct question, or if they have something that they really feel a desire to share. Otherwise they might be just kind of quiet Or if they do say something, it's like, well, you got to be really paying attention because they're not going to be shouting it from the rooftops by any means. So that's a key piece, is really looking at, is your sexual self cueing you to take action, but you're not listening because it's not very loud. And this is what happens for a lot of us, is we aren't listening and we're so busy and we're doing all the things and we're not in our body. So literally being in your body is going to give you it, that's where the voice of your sexual self is. So if you're not in your body, then it's like you're not picking up the telephone and she's trying to call you and you're not listening, and it becomes a huge disconnect. So we got to be in our body. And even if I want to caveat this, even if you define yourself as the like higher desire wife, higher desire partner, and you want sex more, really look at how that feels in your body too, because sometimes we might just jump in our body to have a big sexual energy and then we jump back out of it, or there can be other facets to that, but that's a whole other conversation. So we really want to look at, okay, what is the voice of our sexual self? What are the signs that our sexual self is trying to get our attention, trying to say like, hey, I would love to play, or hey, which is, more in this responsive place, I would love to play, but I need a few things first. So I saw one of the gals in the discussion chat group. So if you're not in there yet, come and join us. And there should be the link in here, and yeah, to join the discussion so you can chat with the other ladies and ask questions and all the yummy stuff. And I may or may not answer them, but it's there for you to chat. And I lost my train of thought. Oh yes, one of the gals in there was frustrated about having to move through the emotions of things to like then be able to like have desire and arousal back and be able to want to like be sexual. And this is one of those things where, can we honor and respect our sexual self's needs to be emotionally connected first, to maybe decompress after the day before you're ready to sexually play? Can you really allow your sexual self, and it's again the unique, authentic, naked identity of your sexual self, really be accepted and loved and appreciated, and to really go, hey girl, what do you need to feel sexually naked and free? What do you need? I want to give it to you. And so we want to really turn, and that's the action to take. And it might be, you might need a few more things in place before this part of you is really wanting to come out and play. And some of you might need, all right, if I have too much stress in my body, my sexual self completely shuts down. Someone else might be able to hold a higher threshold of stress in their body, and their sexual self is totally fine in that arena. But then they might be thinking about their body, and then body image stuff gets in their head, and then sexual self isn't feeling confident to come out and play. So there's so many nuances in this. And so at the end of the day, even though sometimes I talk in like spontaneous desire terms, responsive desire terms, we might be a mix of both. It's kind of like, if you know attachment styles, the anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, we want to be in secure attachment, and we can be disorganized, a mix of avoidant and anxious, and we can have this in our sexual self as well. Like our sexual self can be in this place of pursue, pursue, pursue. I want sex, I want sex, I want sex. And then there might be times when your sexual self is like, nope, 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 this is too much, too close. Like, oh shit. It's kind of like one of the first messages I sent in here is like, pursuing my husband to like actually have sex. But then when we started actually having the delicious sex, my sexual self was like, oh shit, this is really vulnerable. Like, you're actually focusing on me. I'm no longer chasing you. You're actually here. And that means you're with me and you're looking at me and you're in this energy with me and you're focusing on my pleasure. And it means I need to open and be vulnerable. It's not vulnerable if you're chasing, and it's not vulnerable if you're running away. It's vulnerable to sit and stay and be open and be naked. That's the naked piece. So, anyways, we might have this piece of, okay, what is the action that is needed to support my sexual self? Is it, I already know the action, I'm not taking it? Is it, I've been trying to find the answer and it feels like it's a freaking needle in the haystack? I've tried all the things. I feel like I've reached all the people, read all the books, watched whatever on YouTube and listened to those podcasts, and you still can't fucking figure it out. And you need to reach out to somebody who like me, who's an expert who can find the needle in the haystack. That's like my freaking job. I'm magical in this, so I can pinpoint the thing. And sometimes it's like so simple. You're like, why didn't I think of that? It's like, that's why this is my job. I know all like a constellation of possibilities, and I see you in your context as you in the universe. And I'm like, this is what's needed to help your sexual self be so deliciously open, naked, and free. So there might be that piece, right? I know the action, I'm just not taking it. I have no freaking idea what the action is, and I feel like I've tried all the things, and the action is to find someone who can help me find what the action is to take. There's the I'm taking action, and I am basically lying to myself that this is the actual action to be taking, and you're like, this is totally working, or this should be working, and you're not willing to admit that actually you don't know the actions or what to do, and you need somebody to help you find what that is. So this is a big ego thing. It's kind of like releasing the shame around not knowing that you don't know what the action is, and to reach out for help, which is a vulnerable thing to do, right? And then there's the pieces of like, hey, is your sexual self actually cueing you in to what she needs, but you're not listening, or cueing you into that, ooh, I do want to have sex, but it doesn't look like some big, wow, I want to have sex type of situation. Instead, it might be, sometimes it pops up for me where it's like, oh, I want to have sex right now. It's sometimes very, it's like a just, and very gentle. It's very subtle. It's more, introverty. It's kind of like, yeah, I want to play right now. And it's almost like this, oh, how would I describe it? It's like, it's just like, that sounds good. But you're not at a place maybe where you're like starving, where you're like, whoa, I want it now. It's like, that sounds good. And I would love to play. And then you might invite your partner to come play. And, or again, you might play with yourself, whatever it might be. So, um, I have no idea all the stuff that I just shared right now. So, a whole smorgasbord of a bunch of different things, but the theme is action, and just really look at those action pieces. And if you want, so I actually created, this is something I've been wanting to do for like freaking ages. And I finally, like a month or so ago, created it. And it's the Sexual Self Reflection Journal. And it's all digital. So it's a digital download. Eventually, I would love to put it into physical format. But I'll drop the link below if you want it. And it's super wonderful, no matter where you're at in your sexual journey. If you're like, where the hell is my sexual self? And you feel like you can't even hear your sexual self, and she might be a little bit smaller decibel. So want to practice listening to what she has to say, or she's trying to speak to you. You just not speaking the language. It's kind of like love languages in a way. Or you're like more of a spontaneous desire person, and like you have the high desire, and you're hot, like really wanting more sex with your husband. You're really wanting all these pieces, and you feel like you're totally fine in your sexual self. It's his fault. And it's like, no, 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 we want to take responsibility. Even if you're in that place, there's always more that we can learn in the relationship with our sexual self. It's like with our husband. It's like, I don't care how long you've been together, there are still going to be deeper layers to learn and to know and to understand, especially if you're in a place of growth, which is one of the hugest values my husband and I have, is the value of growth. And with no judgment on how fast or how slow or whatever the speed at which you're growing is, but you're holding the frequency of growth. And that actually helps me trust and him trust that, hey, we're not just going to stay stuck and stagnant. Like if something is wrong, we're going to take ownership and make the changes. And yes, it might take us some time, especially the deeper seated, rooted stuff that's going to have more resistance, but we're committed to take the action and find what the action is, or hire someone to help us with the action. This is why we still have a couples therapist. Like sometimes like we'll go weeks just being like, hey, everything's fine. Let's celebrate. And hey, let's kind of polish some of these pieces up. And sometimes we come in and we just had a huge fucking fight and we got lost in it and we needed someone to help us out. So no shame in the support game. So that Sexual Self-Reflection Journal, it's $19.99, so super fucking cheap. And you can either print it out and journal it out, or you'll have all the questions in there. So it's a nice, beautiful journal. You have all the questions, and you can use your own journal. You can contemplate. You could share in here. So if you go through some of the questions and it's like, ooh, that one question really hit something inside of me, and you want to share it in the chat group, do that. Super freaking awesome. So that's a really easy way to just kickstart even more of that deeper, deeper reflection, hence the name, Sexual Self-Reflection Journal. And oh my gosh, I'm so brilliant. This all ties into the action. If you were wondering what the heck to do and what new action to take, this might be it. So, spoiler alert, there's something to try out. So, anyways, I love you ladies. And, ooh, one last thing I just want to say is also, when you take the action and things are working and moving in the direction that you want to, celebrate that shit. Celebrate it. Like, even the small micro wins. Like, one of my coaching clients, one of the things that we talk about a lot is baby steps. Baby steps. Like, this is just a theme and a thread that's been moving throughout our entire time that we've been working together. And it's like just baby steps. Okay. All right. What needs to be cleared? Like anything that needs to be released. And like really having this awareness. Okay. I take an action and all right, either it went really well or it totally didn't go well. And then we learn from it. It's the, what works? What doesn't work? What do I want to do differently? And then we take action to do something differently. And then we're either celebrating or we're celebrating that it worked. We're celebrating that we took the fucking action because we were being brave, and it's freaking brave to keep taking action and keep growing. And it's like, ooh, all right, either way we're celebrating that we took action and it worked, or we're celebrating that we took action and it didn't work. And so now we have a golden nugget lesson that we can now integrate into the continue action. And this is basically life. And in the same way, relationship, lather, rinse, and repeat. Yay. So, and there's no like gold medal for how big of an action you take. There's so many, especially if some of you ladies are in the coaching world. Um, and there's all about the quantum leaps and the big, massive, blah, 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 just big, massive leaps. And it's like, no, that is not necessary. This is like tortoise in the hare situation. Be the fucking tortoise and actually get to where you want to go. Be the fucking tortoise, embody the tortoise, become the tortoise. And if you happen on your journey, at the airport where they have those moving sidewalks that like just move you like a lot faster, than actual walking. It's kind of weird when you're just actually walking and it moves you so much faster. I feel like sometimes that happens. You're still like stepping and you're the tortoise. And then somehow on your journey, you step on this moving sidewalk and you're like, oh, things are moving a lot faster. But it's like you're still taking the same steps, but the universe has given you a boosty boost. So just baby steps. Your job as a human is baby steps. That's it. And then the universe might give you like, all right, teleport you over here in this new realm because maybe you're actually not where you're supposed to be. You're at level 3 and you're supposed to be at level 33 and you're just keeping yourself small. So sometimes the universe puts us up and where we're supposed to be. And if we think we're supposed to be someplace else, like if you're like, what the fuck? I've done all the things, and I still don't have the sex life I want. I'm still not a well-fucked wife. What the fuck? What the fuck? And if that's the case, then you might actually be at the level you're meant to be at, but you're thinking like maybe you're supposed to be at level 3, but you think you're supposed to be at level 33 and you're getting really jealous at somebody. Like maybe you see me and you're like, what the fuck, Chelsea? How come you have that? I've done all the things. Why does she have this? Like, not fair. Or it might be just like you're sad. It's like, oh, I know I can have this, but I don't have it yet. And oh, like I'm celebrating Chelsea. I'm celebrating these other women that are like, have what I want, but I just, it's like get frustrated. Shame can come in, sadness, all these different things. And it's actually, can we all allow ourselves to be exactly where we're meant to be? All of us are whatever levels we're meant to be at. And we're meant to be there because it's from there we're meant to take the action. We're not supposed to be someplace else where we're not meant to be and then take the action from there because that doesn't exist. You can't be where you're not supposed to be and take action from where you're not supposed to be. You have to actually be where you are. And one of the things I like to say in my coaching is be where you want to be met. And so if you want to be, say, even if you're not yet a wife and you want to be a wife, it's like, okay, you got to be where you want to be met, meaning you got to be where you want to have the actual thing that you want. But the way to get there is to be where you are. Are you with me still? To be able to get there, you got to be where you are because you step to where you're meant to be where you need to be to have what you want by being where you are and stepping where you are. It's the only way it works. So if you're wanting to be at level 33, and these are all arbitrary, if you want to be at level 33, but you feel like you're still stuck at level 3 and you think it's fucking bullshit, humble yourself. Humble yourself, get honest with yourself, be vulnerable with yourself and go, okay, can I see this is tough love. This is why you don't have what you want yet, because you're not opening to actually receive what you already have and where you are. So if you're at level 3, open yourself to receive the truth of that. That's the reality. Can you receive this reality? Can you feel the truth of it without shame, blame, judgment, all those pieces? If they're coming up, we've got to process them through. And it's like, oh, okay, I'm at level 3. Okay, either I'm not married yet, or I am married and we're in love, but we're still not having the sex yet. And excuse me, we're still not having the sex yet. And like wherever you are, or maybe you're feeling like, okay, it's like, okay, I'm in this really great place in my relationship, living in past Chelsea's dreams that I've been wanting for years. And honestly, right now, I'm like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Like I'm living in my dream. Now it's time to dream bigger. There's a beautiful coach online, Jonna Kingsford, that always says the dream bigger. And I'm like, yeah, this is the point where I got to dream bigger. It's like I've reached level 33 and I'm like, oh, now what? So when I figure out what the now what is, I'll totally share it with you ladies. And I know there's always more. There's always more. There's limitless layers of expansion and love. There's limitless layers of our journey. There's limitless levels that we have access to. And so there's no rush. We've got to be where we are and know, all right, where do we want to go next to then inform our action? So if you're at level 3 or level 7 or level 17, or maybe you feel like you're at level 55 and it's like, okay, I am here. Let me accept this. Okay, let me have self-awareness of what's working, celebrate that shit. Let me have awareness of what's not working, learn from that shit, and then let me take action on what I learned from so that I can activate that shit and keep moving. And you take action, taking action. But we only want to take action based on what we've learned. And if it's, ooh, we're getting a nice, it's kind of like, do you ever watch, I think they opened a new show on this, the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Do you ever watch that? Who wants to be a millionaire? So it's like you phone a friend, right? Or you get like, or you get some support from the audience. It's like, that's going to happen from God, universe, whatever you believe in. It's okay. You're going to get a boosty boost. That's going to happen. Just like the moving sidewalk. You might get a boosty boost of like, oh, you get this download of intuition that the action to take is, I don't know, whatever the action is. And it might not even be connected to your relationship, or it seems like it, or not even connected to like your sex life. It's like, are you being given the action to take, and are you taking it? If you don't know what action to take, get some help on it. Are you taking the action, but you think you're doing the right action, but actually you need to humble yourself and look at what action you really need to take, but it means you have to get vulnerable with yourself and look at the lessons that you need to learn, but you don't want to look at the lessons because you feel shameful that you've messed up and that you aren't doing XYZ well, and so you keep avoiding it and then pretending, but then you're actually just walking in circles on level 3 thinking that you're going somewhere. So not gonna work. Oh, anyways, lots of juicy stuff in this. Again, I'll put the link for that journal below. And if you do get it, I want to just love to hear your feedback, and any feedback I'm open to. That's one thing that I made it as a digital journal, right? That was an action. See, that was an action I knew I needed to take literally for a couple of years, and I just recently took it. And again, it didn't necessarily have anything to do with my sex life, but it has everything to do with like the energetic, how would I say this? Like energetic field of where you are at the level that you're at is, okay, are you receiving? Are you trusting? Are you taking action where you're meant to take action? Are you listening to yourself? Whether it's your, I've back in the day, I called it your like soul self, your soul, inner soul queen. I still have old soul queen programs. They're amazing. I might have to share some of those programs with you ladies. They're awesome. I have so many. During a time when I was taking too much action, so burnt out. Oops, that's what happens when we take the wrong action. So what was I saying? Yes, your sexual self, share it in here if you want to. I lost my train of thought. That's what happens when it's just flowing out and my mind's not really capturing it. Oh, yes. Yeah. At this level, are you in the energy of knowing when to be in your feminine energy, that open, that surrender, that trusting that that's the action to do is trust, to rest, what have you, to express desire, those kinds of things, feel into your body, all the different things that go into with your inner feminine. And are you listening to your inner masculine, which is going to be this place of, right, okay, this is the action to take. And are they communicating with each other? Is your inner feminine and masculine communicating with each other? It's like, is your masculine actually taking the action to be taking based on the desires that you have? Or is it just action based on so and so telling me that this is action to take? And you're just caught in like people pleasing. Oops, that'll happen. So, anyways, I am going to cut myself off there because I feel like I could say more, and I've said plenty for you ladies to probably glitch out in your mind. But always love to hear from you in the chat. Share all the magic, any stuck points, any celebrations, any ahas, any like, hey, what's your favorite sexy book? Doesn't matter. Celebrating the sexy situation with your husband, all the things. Share it all. Yum, abundance.
That was fucking delicious. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode on Well Fucked Wife, the podcast. If you're ready to dive in deeper, check out all the goodies in the description and make sure to join me at drchelseapage.com, where you'll find all my current offers, including my private mentorship and private luxury retreats. I'll see you in the next episode on Well Fucked Wife.